for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your work.
Hiya! Penguin Truth here, and it's time for more Otaku Evolution. Be sure to like, subscribe, and contribute to my Patreon. Well, here we are, back in fantasy anime. We couldn't even skip a video. Though, to be fair, this is a sort of different kind of fantasy than the Western-style magic and castles roleplay fodder that permeates the genre, especially generic tripe like our last subject, Ruin Explorers. The style of fantasy in this video's subject is a bit more Eastern style and less standard. It incorporates isekai elements, but there's kind of a twist to it. But aside from that, I also wanted to bring up a subject I have yet to breach. The furry aesthetic. We all know what furries are, right? Anthropomorphized beasts and their fans that derive enjoyment, whether merely artistically or sexually, from the aesthetic of such a thing. Oftentimes, a furry artist will adopt a fursona, which is like their authorial or artistic avatar that has animal people characteristics. I feel like I'm just scraping the surface of a very complex and storied phenomenon, especially online, by stating the obvious, but it's still important to establish this early on. There are anime that are drenched in the furry aesthetic, ranging from the simple cat girls of old to the more animal people style where they're more of a mix. Sort of animals with human characteristics rather than people with animal characteristics. And there's a difference between that and, say, animals who act like people, like with something like Polar Bear Cafe. The animals in Polar Bear Cafe aren't animal people. They're just animals that do things humans normally might do. I hope this is making some kind of sense. I would say that the animal people style is more like Night on the Galactic Railroad. Anyway, not entirely inexperienced with the furry aesthetic is the director of this video's subject, Mamoru Hosoda. He directed 2 Digimon features, one of which he drew heavily on to create his 2009 movie, Summer Wars. Now, I'm a fan of Summer Wars, and I wanted to review that instead of this at first, but felt like it had already gotten enough attention from others. Besides which, reviewing this video's subject gave me a chance to watch another of Hosoda's films, so I wouldn't judge him on just one. Hosoda has used the furry aesthetic in Summer Wars and Wolf Children too, but it feels strongest in The Boy and the Beast. In The Boy and the Beast, a young runaway named Ren accidentally stumbles into the world of beast people, a spiritual realm where the hierarchy is currently about to change hands, and there are 2 candidates for the role of Grandmaster. One of the candidates is a bear man named Kumatetsu, who takes in Ren, naming him Kyuuta. Kyuuta is reluctant at first to give the prickly ne'er-do-well any respect, let alone stay with him, but eventually gives in to his offer of discipleship. Kumatetsu attempts to train Kyuuta in martial arts, but the training is long and difficult. Eventually, Kyuuta masters it and grows up strong and resilient, but there's more to the story than all that.
Kyuuta is an adult now. It's time to treat him like it.
Are you kidding? Look at him! He's still smooth and hairless!
I have hair, thank you.
Where?
Calm down, you'll choke.
I win. Goodbye.
Hey! We're not finished!
You do the dishes.
Stop, you brat!
Hey, there's Kyuuta. You want to come over? Later.
Get back here!
Aside from all the usual foundling is trained by rough-around-the-edges father figure and grows up strong and brave tropes, there's something else to the movie that interests me. It's the fact that Kyuuta, or Ren, or whatever you want to call him, actually finds his way back to the world he had come from. Not at the end of the movie, mind you, but in the midway point. Kyuuta finds his way back to the human world and starts to connect with humans via his interactions with Kaede, a young student who helps him learn how to read properly. Kyuuta even reconnects with his biological father, who he had thought abandoned him, but had been looking for him for years. So now we have a new conflict, Kyuuta/Ren being torn between the world he was born in and the world he was raised in. He seems to decide to want to be more of a human, which frustrates and challenges Kumatetsu, though he is loath to admit it. My only criticism of this aspect is we see more of this conflict play out from Kyuuta's side, and only a little bit of Kumatetsu's reaction. But otherwise, it's a noteworthy twist, because you usually don't see the isekai person finding their way back to where they came from until the finale of such stories.
Am I a human? Am I a beast?
A beast?
Or neither? Am I a monster now?
What are you saying?
Which is it? Tell me. What am I?
Stop! This isn't you!
What am I then? Tell me.
Things all come to a head when Kumatetsu manages to beat his rival for the role of Grandmaster of the Beast Realm, but the rival's adopted human son is overcome with the negative feelings said to harbor in any human that is brought up in the Beast Realm, and that son, Ichihiro Hiko, decides to get vengeance on Kyuuta for interfering by attacking the human realm in his madness. This is where Kyuuta has to really step up and face his conflicting sides and feelings, and try to take on this threat to the world he came from with what he learned in the world he grew up in, with the help and encouragement of Kaede.
I feel like I can do anything, like I'm suddenly stronger. So I want to be there to give you strength when you need it. If you're fighting something, then I'm fighting it too. Don't forget, okay? You're not alone. It doesn't matter how scared I am, I'm not letting go of your hand.
Kaede,
I don't want to spoil the climax of the movie, but needless to say, Kumatetsu is part of how Kyuuta resolves his conflict with Ichihiro Hiko, and there's a denouement that is, while not entirely satisfactory in terms of the plot, is emotionally fulfilling and valid in its own right. I only wish that Kumatetsu had a little more involvement with the final battle prior to its conclusion. But let's look at the furry aesthetic of the film and really try to figure out what its appeal is. Because really, anthropomorphized animals, they really don't do it for me. I can only hazard a guess as to why furry characters are so appealing to so many. I think it's partially because we already like to assign human characteristics to real animals, try to guess at what they're feeling or how they're behaving based on the human aesthetic. So there's an extension of that in the phenomenon of the furry character, a character that has the look of a familiar animal, in Kumatetsu's case a bear, where we see human characteristics that allow us to identify with the character on a more visceral level, while still enjoying the wildness and larger-than-life qualities. There's a sort of comfort in it, especially in the actual furriness of the furry character, because humans generally enjoy the feel of fur against them. Now, not being a furry guy myself, again, I can only just surmise at the appeal of the furry aesthetic. Kumatetsu is an interesting character to me because of his lovably gruff nature and amusing physicality. He stands apart from, say, Iozen's calm and reserved demeanor with a bit of a cocky stride and overbearing heft. If some people derive a sexual thrill from such a character, more power to them, it's not my thing, but I respect our differences. Now, The Boy and the Beast is hardly a perfect film, or even really a phenomenal film. It's a nice, kind of high-production fluff movie with not a whole lot to say, but it's nevertheless very entertaining. I'd say Summer Wars was probably better, because it had a stronger emphasis on its theme of family togetherness. The Boy and the Beast flounders in its lopsided use of its own characters, giving Kumatetsu not enough to do in the second act, or even in the conclusion. But I did end up, for the most part, feeling refreshed by the movie, which is more than I can say for the subject of my previous video. Wow, that was sort of a short one, wasn't it? It's only a single film, after all, and not a particularly deep one. But if you have a chance to watch it, you should. As far as the furry aesthetic, I think I might have a bit more of an understanding now. Next time on Otaku Evolution, we appreciate voice actors again. Until then, see ya!
You need to grab hold of the sword that's in here, in your soul. You have one, don't you?
What? You don't make any sense.
How much clearer do you need me to make it for you? You grab the sword. That's in your soul. Okay, now, do it. Do it!